and believer in people power. And Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, it's 7 minutes after 7. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room, the agenda setter, live on Spice FM, on KTN News, KTN Home, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, from Nairobi to the world. Asante sana for tuning in and for joining us. We have a message for you from the Aga Khan University Hospital, and it's a very important message. It's talking about your health. So when did you last do a full body medical checkup? You know, like when you go to a garage and they just do a 24-point check, right? To check your medical status. See, it's an important thing, isn't it?
It's absolutely important, actually.
It's always important, and medics advise, have an annual checkup. Just walk in, not because you're feeling at inauma na kichwa, no. Just walking and say, I have come for a checkup.
Remember what they say, prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Go for that checkup and figure out what is happening to you. It is far, far better than when it actually happens, and then you have to go to hospital when it has happened. By that time, usually, you're in dire straits.
They say very many conditions take long for you to notice them.
For them to manifest.
For them to manifest.
Yes.
But a medical checkup will be able to actually detect them and get them early.
It tells you.
It's
it
important.
informs you. Yes.
It's screening. So you go in there and get a screening done. And it's available across the Aga Khan University Hospital medical centers, wherever they are. So go to the nearest one, tell them, hey, you know what, nimesikia ati nikuje muniangalie mwili. Fanya 24-point check. They will do the 24-point check. They'll check your blood sugars. They will check, they'll do some screening of your health and see how well you're doing. And it's affordable. For as low as 9,950, you can get a comprehensive medical checkup at any Aga Khan University Hospital clinic in your neighborhood. All right?
Yes.
It's just 9,950. Just go and do it. Get it done. And just now know what you're dealing with. Just know you're fine. And also at that point when you're getting the check, the health practitioner will tell you, okay, so let's talk about your diet. Let's talk about your eating. Let's talk about your lifestyle habits. Let's talk about your exercise. You get all that for 9,950. Yeah?
Yes.
Haya. Sasa hapa tunaanza kuzungumza mambo ya multi-party democracy in this country, okay? We know that Kenya is a sovereign state, and the sovereign are the people of Kenya, and everybody has the responsibility to uphold and defend this constitution. Also, that Kenya is a multi-party state. And this I am going to quote Article 4 of the Constitution. Declaration of the Republic. Kenya is a sovereign republic. That is 4:1. 4:2. The Republic of Kenya shall be a multi-party democratic state founded on the national values and principles of governance that are referred to in Article 10. Okay? We are a multi-party democratic state, and we have invited our next guest so we can talk about what this means and how it plays out. This next guest is the communication director of the Orange Democratic Movement Party, Philip Etale. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Karibu sana to the hot seat of the Situation.
Asante sana. This is my second time here.
Karibu.
And I hope it's going to be exciting.
Better than the first.
The first was just in the run-up to the 2022 elections. And that was with a gentleman here called, what was he called? Anyway, I can't remember his name. Yeah.
All right. City.
Yes.
Please welcome Philip with the day's proverb.
Yes. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the landlocked country of Southern Africa called Botswana. Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood.
Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood. What do you think the people of Botswana are telling us?
Well, apparently, this proverb suits me very well because towards the end of this month, I'm going to be in Gaborone in Botswana. going on the invitation of a friend of mine who is vying for a political seat. A member of he's my former classmate. He's called Fenyo Segoko. And this tiny Southern African country reminds me of so many things because it has people who believe in one thing that is called democracy. Because, when I was with this guy, he told me a lot about South Botswana. And I like their culture. And when they come up with such kind of proverbs, and then I remember where I come from, somewhere in Western Kenya, I think we share a lot in common. So, yeah.
Well, boss, so give us the interpretation of the proverb. You've told us you're going.
We like the poetry and the prose.
You're visiting Gaborone, it's okay.
The joy of
your classmate is vying.
Wonderful,
okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so what's the interpretation of the proverb?
It simply means that we have to be careful with what we do and the decisions we make as a people in the interest of the whole nation and the people who live in the country. That's what I think the proverb means.
Sounds like it's talking to you, people in the leadership.
It is. That proverb, I wouldn't want to go into the depth of it in relation to what is happening in Kenya, but I will say, as a people with responsibility to ensure that we uphold democracy in this country, we have to be careful with the decisions we make.
Okay.
They may come to haunt us at some point. That's my take.
A good one. What's your understanding of what the Constitution means in Article 4 when we say that Kenya shall be a multi-party democracy?
First, we have to understand what is the definition of a political party. For the time I've worked with politicians and in a political party, I know a political party is a group of organized people or individuals whose main aim is to capture political power. A political party must not be there just for political power alone. It must be there for posterity. And the ideology that a political party is formed should be one that resonates with the needs of the people. Now, when you talk about political pluralism, multi-party politics, I vividly remember when I was a small boy, I think I was in primary 1, 2, 3, 4 there. In the late 80s, I used to like watching news, and that's what motivated me into becoming a journalist. And I could see how the political class then, those who are struggling, those who are fighting for political pluralism, the likes of the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the late Masinde Muliro, the late Martin Shikuku, the late Kenneth Matiba. There was a gentleman called Ahmed Bamahiriz. There was another man called George Nthenge. There was Professor Rashid Mzee and others. Then there were a crop of young politicians who called themselves the Young Turks. The likes of the Honorable Raila Odinga, the late Henry Obwocha, the late George Anyona. We had Dr. Muhisa Kitui, and quite a number. And I think City can confirm because they were there those days.
Yes. I was also young then.
Yes.
It may not seem so, but I was. And I remember all those people. Yes.
I used to follow their politics, and they used to follow the ideology that they held, that we need a country where we can have political parties, not just for political power, but for posterity. That you can have political parties that can spearhead the ideology of the people and the aspirations of the people. Political parties that will stand the test of time. There have been political parties. Then we had KANU. And when I read history, back in the day, we had two political parties, KANU and KADU. Then when Mzee Jomo Kenyatta fell out with President Jomo Kenyatta in 1967, he went and formed a political party called the KPU. And that was the beginning of political pluralism then. But somewhere in the middle, KANU managed to sweep away other political parties and asserted his authority on land to become the only party.
When you started answering my
shot.
question,
Yes.
and my question was, what is your understanding of the constitutional ideal for Kenya shall be a multi-party democracy? You said, let's begin by understanding what a political party is. Okay? So let's just cut to the chase. So what's a political party? And so what then does multi-party democracy mean?
Multi-party democracy means many political parties, many ideologies, but one common agenda, one nation.
Okay. So ideology is an important part in this conversation.
Correct. A political party must be formed on the basis of an ideology. Like, for instance, from where I sit, the ODM party stands for social democracy.
That's from where you sit.
Yes. That is the ideology of our party, the ODM. That we can have equity among Kenyans and equitable distribution of resources. Above all, we have to uphold the basic principles of political pluralism. That we can have as many political parties, but we must ensure that the people of Kenya are not suppressed, the people of Kenya are not intimidated, the people of Kenya receive services that they deserve, and that there is good leadership and governance.
When you say then that ODM is the ideology is social democracy, what does that mean? How can we tell?
A social democracy is a system where everyone enjoys the fruits, the national cake. For instance, when I say that we have to have equitable distribution of resources, that which we stand for, we mean that every part of this country must feel part of the governance and the leadership. That no single part of this country should be isolated because of the basis of how they voted and their political affiliation. That when you capture state power, which is the core of a political party, you have to ensure that even if you're in power on ODM or whichever party, that person who never voted for you must feel part of the government, must enjoy being in the country, not to be isolated because they never voted for you. Because I've seen on many occasions a politician will say, nyinyi hamukunipigia kura, kwa hivyo maendeleo will go to another part where I got votes. That is not leadership. If you're an elected, when Kenyans elect you to be their leader, they expect a lot from you, even those who never elected you, because politics is about competition.
So is there any other party in this country that you can say is markedly different from the social democrats that ODM are? Give us, from what we are seeing in the country right now, let's say the political parties that have members in parliament, the political parties that have members in county assembly. Is there any party that is markedly different from ODM that you can say, this is the ideology of ODM and this is the ideology of this party and they are different? Or can we say all parties in Kenya then are social democrats?
I'll speak from where I sit. I've traveled to different jurisdictions in the name of social democracy and learning a lot about social democracy. ODM believes in socialism, that we can have a country, a united country, where people will be able to express their feelings, their ideas, and anything that is in their heart without being intimidated. In Kenya, I wouldn't say that there's any other party that is a member of the social democracy which the ODM subscribes to. If I look at the ruling party, UDA, they lean more on the side of communism because they have been closely associated with the Chinese People's Party, the CPC, which is a communist party. And a lot of what they do is borrowed from the CPC system. Let's go back to the ideology of communism. Remember when Karl Marx started the movement in 1840s, communism. Then Vladimir Lenin improvised it. And then the people like Mao Zedong in 1920s came up with a system that now is China. You see, the Communist Party of China, which has swallowed other political parties in China. You find that, in China, any party that tries to show its head, kuonyesha kichwa, inagongwa. That's not the kind of politics that we want in Kenya. And perhaps that's the reason why the first 2 years of the Kenya Kwanza or UDA administration, we have had turbulent moments where people have been protesting more than ever before. Not just people calling for good governance, people calling for proper leadership, good policies, but people saying that we want accountability, we want good leadership, we want good governance and good everything to be done in accordance with the law.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You say the ODM party believes in the principles of social democracy.
Correct.
Okay. Social democracy, those who define these things say it's a middle ground between capitalism and communism. Okay, so somewhere in the middle. Would you say that the ODM manifests these principles within its own party?
The ODM manifests its principles within its own party?
Yes, meaning in the manner in which ODM is run and the manner in which they conduct their affairs, would you say it manifests the principles of social
Absolutely.
democracy?
It's only that Kenyans have never given the ODM a chance to be in power.
What do you mean?
And you cannot exercise.
Kenyans have voted for members of parliament in ODM. Kenyans have voted for governors in ODM. What do you mean Kenyans have not given ODM a chance?
There's a thin line between being a member of parliament and state power. State power is where everything is controlled.
And what is state power?
And
Philip?
you can exercise all these if you have that state power.
What is state power?
That you
Philip?
have like Kenya is a presidential system. If, for instance, someone in ODM is elected president of Kenya, then we can be able to articulate our issues,
Philip,
execute
go to
our
Mombasa
ideology.
County. The executive in Mombasa County is ODM.
Correct.
The majority in the
Of the
county
MCs,
assembly is ODM.
Yeah.
Do they have executive authority there?
They do exactly
so
what we stand
can
for.
we say that in Mombasa, people can actually feel
You see,
ODM and its social democracy?
correct.
Okay,
A
explain.
lot of activities that are done in Mombasa are in accordance with the principles or the ideology of the ODM. The social democracy that we stand for. For instance, if you go to Mombasa, if you go to Kakamega, if you go to Turkana, all these counties, Siaya, Homa Bay, there is that sense of feeling that something is happening on the ground. And people are enjoying the services that are being provided by the respective leadership. Nobody has raised concern about the leadership in Mombasa, the leadership in Siaya, the leadership in Kisii. Apart from those,
the
the
Auditor General would disagree with you. The Auditor General would disagree with you. In the queries that the Auditor General raises about counties whose governors are members of the ODM party have also had issues. Let me explain why I asked the question. There is what you mentioned about state power emanating and simply being grounded within the executive. Are we saying that perks that citizens enjoy by virtue of being citizens, like GCDF, what is it called?
NGCDF.
Yes, NGCDF, the county allocations. Now we've gone to the MCAs, haven't we? Okay. Are we saying that in any way that all these benefits that individuals who are not necessarily within the ODA ambit do not enjoy these?
You know, you've spoken about the NGCDF city. The NGCDF is governed by the national government.
Yes, it is.
It's controlled from the top at the national level.
Does the money get to every constituency in the country?
It does.
Yes.
And members of parliament are accountable, because in the past, members of parliament used to have a control of this NGCDF.
And we saw
nowadays
how
they
how
don't.
that one went, didn't we?
Yes, we know. Everyone knows what happened.
Yes.
And people used to use the fund for their own political expedience and
Yes.
other things. But now that is controlled from the national level, I think it's well streamlined, and projects, if you want to start a project, you must give a proposal to the national office, then it's approved, then it's implemented. Now, when you go to counties, you spoke about the MCAs. MCAs work at the whims of the executive of the county, because there's no clear law that provides for a ward development fund. It has never been executed. It's never been implemented. So you'll find MCAs following the governor all over the governor. Everywhere the governor goes, they're there because they want favors from that particular county boss. But if we had a law that provides for clear allocation of the ward development fund, which I think should be prioritized by Parliament, then MCAs will be independent and be able to execute their agenda at the ward level. Now, at the county level, if a government or a county boss finds themselves in a situation where there is plundering of public resources, then they should be held responsible, regardless of the political party they belong. But what I believe in is that we should have accountability at every level of government, national level and the county level, so that we can have the resources reaching out to the people and going to the intended purposes that they are supposed to serve.
Let's take a break. It's 7:30. Our guest this morning is Philip Etale. He is the communication director at the Orange Democratic Movement Party. We are talking about the future of political parties, multi-party democracy in this country. Is it safe or is it under threat? That's why he's here. We'll be back and continue this conversation shortly. Good morning.
This is the
Get ready for incredible savings with our special factory prices on all tile profiles. Enjoy unbeatable discounts on our Gauge 28 matte, Gauge 30 matte finish and glossy Gauge 30 tiles. Choose from a variety of matte finishes including Germania tile, Jami tile, Espana tile, Roman Jami tile and Jamiz tile. The Gauge 28 matte was 820 Kenya shillings, now just 745 per meter. And the Gauge 30 matte was 680 Kenya shillings, now slashed to only 625 per meter. And that's not all. Our box Jami tile, previously 575, is now only 499 Kenya shillings per meter. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Visit our factory outlets in Kitengela or Meru, or place your order today by calling 0729 628 199 or 0740 229 609. Rhino Mabati. Do it best on top.
Nivea Pearl and Beauty Deodorant. The perfect balance of 48-hour protection and care for soft, smooth, and beautiful underarms. Try our new Pearl and Beauty Black Pearl for smooth and perfumed underarms.
A brand new season of The Art of Living is here. You will not believe whom we have in store for you this season.
I usually buy during a sale, but I'm also a very hard negotiator.
The homes are nothing short of magnificent, exquisite, and unique.
I think it just brings out that girlish era that I am in.
This season, the bar is raised.
Once I started floral, it just seemed to be themed all over.
Take a vicarious journey with me and let's discover, explore, and engage.
Mind your business. Missing a no man away. Mind your
lazima niongeze bidii, lazima niongeze bidii. Kumwaka more blessing on me, more blessing on me. Kumwaka kumwaka kufosi, anitake msitake, mtanita bosi. Kumwaka
Boko, baby you Boko.
Were organizing demos last year. One of the big concerns that was being raised then by the Azimio coalition partners was a threat to multi-party democracy. And they were saying that the Kenya Kwanza administration, led by UDA, was threatening multi-party democracy by reaching out to parties and members who belong to parties that are not in the ruling coalition and wooing them to start voting with them or to start siding with them. And he cited, Jubilee MPs who are in parliament who have even had started attending meetings of Kenya Kwanza. There were other members who had even moved already into Kenya Kwanza even before the election had been completely concluded. We have people like the Maendeleo Chap, whose leader even joined the government as a cabinet secretary. And Azimio was saying this is an affront on multi-party democracy. Does ODM have the same stand today when its two deputy party leaders, its chairman and others were approached to join government?
First, I would say the two deputy party leaders have resigned. They are no longer officials of the party. Number two, the chairman resigned. He cannot serve in the executive when he still holds that position. Number three, the Secretary for Political Affairs, Mr. Pio and I, resigned. He can no longer serve in the executive while holding that position. Therefore, the ODM party is going to reorganize itself. It doesn't mean that ODM has been swallowed. That is not true. People are saying that ODM imemezwa, ODM is going to die. I will tell you, ODM is there to stay because the principles on which ODM was founded still hold. We still believe that we have a chance to right the wrongs in this country. We saw the signs of Kenya Kwanza trying to swallow political parties ab initio when they formed government, when they realized they did not have the majority in the House because the Azimio had the majority of members of parliament by number. When they realized that they do not have the majority, the supermajority to pass their bills, their motions, and their agenda in parliament, they decided to hoodwink, to dangle the carrot to political parties that they thought were small.
Philip, did they abrogate the Constitution? Did they go against the letter and the spirit of the Constitution?
They did, absolutely. They went against the letter and spirit of the Constitution because the law does not allow a government of the day to poach members from a political party or a coalition.
Does it prevent them from doing so?
It does, but in Kenya, the law means nothing. Those in power will always use the power they have to intimidate and suppress other people and other institutions. In Kenya, the law, it's not like in the West where the they respect the law. Like I remember you remember the representative of North Carolina, the Democratic Party lady, when she saw that her ideology within the Democratic Party was no longer tenable, she decided to resign, quit altogether, and went back to the people. And I think she won on a Republican Party. So I think the best that, because that's what we still stand for, and even the political parties registrar will tell you, it's not right for any political party to try and get into the affairs of another political party. And it also says in Article 14 of the Political Parties Act that any member of a political party who spearheads the ideology of another political party is deemed to have resigned and joined that political party. So when the Kenya Kwanza administration started poaching, and it started with parties like the UDM, and it swallowed members from Mandera. Then it went to Jubilee. There's still a tussle in court. There's a faction that says we are the bona fide leaders of the party, another that says we are the bona fide. So we have two factions within the Jubilee Party. That is what you call an affront to democracy in the country. We shouldn't be allowing such kind of things to happen today.
In earlier years before the 2010 Constitution, in the 90s that you say that you were very actively engaging with the news, we used to see KANU reaching out to members of the opposition and wooing them to join KANU, right?
Yeah.
For one reason or the other. And that was one of the reasons why the whole principles of multi-party democracy were even being put in the Constitution, is because of the lessons learned and what was seen, right? KANU just going in and wooing members and taking them.
Yeah.
This time, UDA or Kenya Kwanza or whoever has gone deep in the heart of ODM and wooed its leaders and made those leaders actually resign from their positions in the party to go and serve in government. Is that not an affront on multi-party democracy?
It is.
When you actually go for the two deputy party leaders, the chair of the party, the secretary of political affairs, secretary of political affairs, senior members of a political party, you go and pick them and they end up resigning, and you leave now that party dealing with replacing them. Is that not an affront?
This is different from
on multi-party democracy. Is that not raiding a party to weaken it?
This is different from what the Kenya Kwanza administration did to when it
when they approached UDM.
When they approached UDM, Mendeleo Chap, Jubilee.
Yeah, UDM is still intact.
UDM is still intact, but within Kenya Kwanza, they are within the pressings of UDA.
And when time came, UDM wrote to Azimio and said, we are pulling out of this Azimio coalition. We are going.
Yeah, they did after the 60-day or 90-day period that was allowed in the agreement.
So one could argue that UDM is still intact, that UDM, it's still, this is the operation of a multi-party democracy, where a party decides to exit a coalition,
Latif,
as agreed in their constitution, and to go and join another one. I'm asking about raiding a political party and picking its best.
One thing I want to say
from that party.
One thing I want to say for certain is that the ODM party is not going anywhere. The ODM party is still going to perform its mandate within the minority side of parliament of the political divide. That aside, the 4 or 5 individuals who have been approached to join government, we said as a party, and it went out to the public, that these individuals have been released by the party to go and help the failing UDA administration to get back on its feet and do whatever they can do there to help it. But the ODM party will continue with its role of defending the people of Kenya, defending democracy, fighting for the rights of the people, and also fighting for good governance. You know, City, when as a father, when you see your house is crumbling, your house is coming down, everything is in disarray, what do? You reach out to your neighbor for assistance. Hey, bro, come and help me here. That's exactly what Ruto and his administration did. Because, you know, I've never seen a situation where maybe 19 years ago when Kibaki was under duress and sent home all the cabinet ministers, this is the only other time that the government of Kenya has sent packing all the ministers because of incompetence. There was laxity in office, and Kenyans had lost confidence in the government. And I can assure you, the four gentlemen and a lady who have been approached from the ODM to go and serve in the Kenya Kwanza administration, it's like in football, a player being offered to another team on loan, and they go there and outperform those who have been there. Then the mother club will say, "Oh, we want you back."
Philip,
and that's exactly what is going to happen.
No, Philip, it's exactly that is not exactly not what is happening. If ODM had not kicked such a monumental fuss about what the executive did, as you say, raiding, I don't think they raided the other parties. I think they came to an understanding. I didn't see anybody kicking and struggling and fighting not to be taken to Kenya Kwanza. They went, which means they arrived at an amicable understanding. If the very thing that we noted ODM pitched a fit about is the very thing that they're now doing, and with their blessing, because according to you, they have said they're on loan, let them go. So where does ODM stand? I mean, on the one hand, you had an issue with what the government did. On the other hand, now you are loaning them your people, and these are leaders. This is the leadership of ODM, and then you're telling us that ODM hasn't actually joined the government. Surely,
you know, one thing I like about the nominees from the ODM, I watched them during the vetting exercise, and each one of them said, "I have resigned for my responsibility in the party, but I remain a loyal member of my party, ODM." And
what was that supposed to mean?
They still belong to the ODM. Okay. They have not joined UDA. They have not joined Kenya Kwanza. Okay. They have just joined government. You know, there's a thin line between government
my point exactly. But Philip, that's my point.
Administration.
Philip, that's my point. That's my point. So essentially you're saying that ODM was crying wolf when other people joined, but now when they join, because ODM has joined, you can call it what you like, then now they have joined the executive, but the other parties also did not rescind their parties.
Yep.
They retained their parties, but they're part of government. So there really is no difference, is there, Philip?
You know, that's the executive and legislature. In parliament, I expected all political parties, all members of parliament elected on the minority side to remain intact and do their job as required by law. But you know, going into executive means you can go there and again, you can still come back to where you belong at the end of the day.
Philip, this one is proving difficult, isn't it?
It's not. They have gone, they're just there to work, then they will come back to where they belong. They're still members of the ODM party.
Hey, Philip. Hey.
You know, City and Latif.
Is Adan Kenan a member of Jubilee?
Adan Kenan is a member of Jubilee.
But he has not
But
left
sitting
Jubilee.
in parliament, he sits on the minority side.
Yes.
But he propagates the ideology of the majority side.
Okay. So here's an ODM member who will be propagating the ideology of the Kenya Kwanza administration.
You know, one thing that we need to understand is that Kenya...
The difference between
is a
Wycliffe
sovereign
Oparanya,
state.
if he gets approved to become a cabinet secretary for Hustler Fund, right? And he's an ODM member. What's the difference between him and, like I said, Sabina Chege or Aden Keynan, who would come and vote for the Hustler Fund in the House? What's the difference? If Aden Keynan can vote for the Hustler Fund approval in the House, and Wycliffe Oparanya, ODM member, which is a member of Azimio Coalition, can go and implement the Hustler Fund, what's the difference?
You know, I would say perhaps Kenya is at crossroads at the moment, because this whole problem has been occasioned by bad governance, poor leadership, and poor stewardship of the people at the helm of the Jubilee Kenya Kwanza administration. Because had President William Ruto and his administration been steadfast from the word go when they formed government, that we are going to serve the people of Kenya diligently and with all our hearts and mind, then we wouldn't be where we are today. Kenyans wouldn't have poured on the streets to protest about bad governance. And I'm saying, without batting my eye, that had the ODM or Azimio been given the mandate by Kenyans to govern this country, we will not be having such kind of scenarios where we are going to poach people from the opposition to come and help us govern. We will not.
If you accept to be poached, how can you say you would not poach yourself?
When the poacher comes to poach, it means the poacher has a weakness somewhere, and he has seen some brilliance in the persons they are going to poach, in the poachee, because they don't have that kind of intellectual capacity on their side.
When the poachee willingly accepts to be poached, what does that tell you about the ideology of the poachee?
It's service to the nation.
The character of the poachee.
It is service to the nation.
So in the interest of serving the nation, had ODM formed governments and the people had risen the way the people have risen now, or whatever challenges emerged, ODM would not have hesitated to cross over to the other side and look for a political party. Approach UDM,
Wiper, or whoever else need to approach.
In fact, our members are just going to prove what Kenyans have been missing. What we've been trying to fight for in this country, that we want to provide good governance, good leadership, and ensure that there's proper service delivery to the people of Kenya. They are going to outdo those who are there. And you know, mark this day. Today is the 5th of August, 2024. These gentlemen and lady who are going to serve in this government are going to overperform. And you'll tell me one day that you told us on the show that these people are going to perform. They will. And Kenyans will say, actually, you performed well.
And credit to ODM?
Credit to ODM. Because we have sent them there in good faith. Go thee and serve the nation. And indeed, stick to the ideology of the ODM.
Let me also, since you're on record, let me also be on record that they will definitely try their level best. But it is not going to be an easy task to do what they're saying. The likelihood of them simply falling by the wayside in the manner in which their predecessors have is more likely than that they will actually succeed. Because if I listen to the interviews and what they were saying they will do, they were not convincing at all.
They did. Listening to the cabinet nominee for finance, for National Treasury, Mr. Honorable John Badi, I think he performed very well in matters finance, how he's going to stabilize the economy of the country, the dollar, the shilling against the dollar. You see, such kind of stuff. And that's what Kenyans want.
That one, everybody who has studied what he has studied can talk about. That's not what we're discussing. Yuguna is a man who actually understands this field well. You don't become a professor by not understanding something.
He researches these matters
this is
on a
what
daily basis.
And he had a tough go of it. I am not saying that John Badi is not capable. Stalwart fellow, means well. That's why I said, I am certain he will try very hard. It isn't a question of the efforts that he will make. Government, you know this very well, better probably than I do. Government doesn't function well on the basis of one's willingness and on one's efforts. Government functions on how you understand it and how you're able to work with it.
You see, the performance of a minister or a cabinet secretary for that matter solely depends on the goodwill of the person at the helm, and the buck stops with the president. Reason why the previous cabinet secretaries underperformed is because there was micromanagement of affairs.
And we're not going to have that now.
If that stops, then I can assure you the persons who will be nominated to serve.
Do we still have the same president? Because if you talk of micromanagement, it means, and the top is just one, the executive is the president. If indeed, as you say, it is being alleged that he micromanaged, you want to tell me that suddenly he's going to stop micromanaging?
If he's a good listener, if he's a good learner, then he will know that micromanagement of public affairs is detrimental. And if he wants government to survive, his government to survive the full 5 years, he must give absolute power to these cabinet secretaries to work. Because each individual is going into those ministries with their own expertise, ideas, and what they want to achieve at the end of time.
Let me ask, is that position an executive one, the CS Finance docket?
It is. Actually, it is. Initially, in the last dispensation, we had 2 executive ministers. That was the local government.
Yes, and finance. Exactly.
But now it is the National Treasury that, the only CS that wields executive power is the CS for Treasury. Because you sign, you approve documents, policy documents, without even...
So there you have it. He actually has the power.
Yes. And I expect him to perform. I expect Honorable Mbadi to perform at the Treasury.
That is, if his nomination is accepted.
If it is accepted. If it's accepted. He is a performer. And I would say all the nominees from our side are performers. There's this lady from Turkana, Beatrice School. And one day I would wish you invite her on this show. She's articulate in whatever she does. In her field, she understands.
You know her. Why don't you make the arrangements? We will gladly welcome her to the show.
I will ensure she comes here.
Yes.
She is going to perform. And I can assure you, without any contradiction, that the nominees from our side are going to perform in this administration. And they'll come out shining and bright.
I'm still concerned about the future of multi-party democracy in this country. You know, because it's supposed to be allowing people to join a party because they align with what that party stands for. And Philip, let's just be realistic. In this country, people, how many members does your party have, ODM?
In terms of membership nationwide?
Yes.
About 5.6 million.
Signed up members?
Signed up members.
And how do they sign up?
We've been recruiting since the party started in 2005. And now I would say we are the first political party to go digital. We've been recruiting online using a short code, and members have been recruiting. And, one thing I like about the Political Parties Act now, initially you spoke about KANU poaching members back in the day when President Mo was in power. Those days there was no act that guided the survival, or rather the well-being of political parties. We used to have registrar of society. Political parties were registered as societies. But with the enactment of the Political Parties Act in 2012, we came up with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. Now political parties were no longer referred to as societies, but now political parties, institutions for posterity. And now that we have the Political Parties Act in place, I would say the political parties can now perform their roles within the precincts of the law, within the jurisdiction of the political party's registrar, because she's a custodian. The lady is a custodian of all political parties. Any political party that goes against the law can be deregistered.
So she reigns them in.
She reigns. Now, one thing I want to say is that, with 5.6 million members, and nowadays you can, if you feel dissatisfied with your political party, you can also resign from that party by writing to the party and the register of political party, because now all registers of political parties are kept by the political party registrar. So you find someone, I'm not happy with what your party is doing.
You can leave the party.
I want to quit.
You can leave the party if you want. My question is on the advancement of multi-partyism, where we know that there are these many political parties. This is what they stand for. They have this number of members, and this is how they are run, and this is what they stand for. Now, when you see political parties such as the big political party, an old political party like ODM, saying, okay, we have donated members this time. In the last administration, we are supporting these ones. In another administration, maybe we may join these ones. You ask yourself, what's going to be the future of this discourse on political parties? Is it going to be a properly structured way of engagement, or is it going to be whimsical? Because that's what many think. Yeah. So as you conclude in 20 seconds.
Let me ask a question. Do you know the oldest political party in the world?
No, I don't.
No, I don't.
It is the Democratic Party of the US. It is the oldest political party in the world. It's been on and off power. And the ideology still stands. The ODM party was formed just after the 2005 constitution referendum.
Yeah.
And we still maintain our status in society. Now we are the oldest political party with the largest following across the country. And we believe the ideology that we stand for is that which will continue propagating. As a party, we are not going to look back. We are focused, and ODM party is going to deliver in this country.
Philip Etale, Communication Director, ODM Party, has been our guest. Thank you for coming. Come again soon. It's 8 a.m. Time for the news.